can raise your hand if you have a question. Yes, Radha Priyadasi.
Yesterday you were talking about Sharanagati and how we need to lessen ourselves to feel we're not qualified and that every good quality is from God and is lended. But also I see in many devotees that sometimes they feel very guilty and they punish themselves when they're not good enough or they don't do enough with bhakti or practices. So I think this is a little bit violent with ourselves. So how can we manage and balance?
Yes, don't panic. I will explain that already planned. That will be the class this morning, this subject. How a devotee should deal with their own failures. We'll discuss it in detail and Krishna's teachings about this. But at the same time, the reason why someone may become aggressive with themselves, harsh on themselves because of their shortcomings, is actually because they are proud, because they have a deep-seated, deeply rooted concept, I am great. And then when they find out that they're not great, it makes them become angry because they really, really want to be great. And then out of frustration, then they stop being engaged in devotional service like this. So still, the pride is still the problem. You see, if one will consider himself very insignificant, then if there is some failure, then this is just the proof. Oh, it's correct. Then you don't become angry and have a negative reaction, you see, and then go against devotional service and act in a way which is detrimental to one's own benefit as well. So we have to watch out for this. Pride is very, very tricky. It comes from the unsteadiness of the chitta. When the chitta is very steady and in sattva gun, a person automatically feels very humble and does not consider himself superior to others. Also, you know that if a fisherman throws a net into the ocean, then they can catch the fish, but only the bigger fish. The small ones swim through the holes. So in the same way, Maya is like a net. And this network of Maya, which the strands of this net are actually the senses. I don't want to make you hungry, but Sharira avidyajal jodendriya tekal. Sharira avidyajal means this body is a jal, like a net of avidya, ignorance. So the soul is transcendental, spiritual and very fine. But when we are in avidya, then we get caught by the network of sensory impressions which are coming to us. So if someone is proud, then they always get trapped by these sensory impressions. But if someone is humble, he's like the small fish, he does not get caught in the net. Good question. And the way I am giving the classes, deliberately, I give one class to provoke a particular reaction, that then the answer will come in the next class. So good, it's working. The process is working. Yes, raise your hand if you have another question. Mohan Prabhu. I'm just making some gender balance here, something from the ladies, something from the men. We'll come back to the ladies afterwards. Yes.
Bhagavatam, we see that the separation of the Gopis, especially, is described so much. But of Krishna, when he left, it's not described so much, I think. I didn't reach the end of the 10th chapter. I was wondering why is it like this? And then also, when Krishna is in Mathura, in Praga, I talked to my godmother about it,
Я
and they
обсуждала со
said
своими
actually at
братьями
night he says the
Они
names
сказали,
of,
что
of his
по
cow.
ночам
But I talked to some other person and he says actually it's a different Krishna there. So
Но потом мне
and
сказали,
then
что это
also
другой
I was
Кришна.
wondering because Krishna is Rasik Shekhar, the relish
Я
of all
думаю, что
ras.
Кришна Расик Шек
So,
нарушается все расы.
how is it that he can be there and in the same time feel the separation of Vrindavan, but also have these exchanges with the queens? Well, because the Gopis separation is so strong. How can Krishna have the same separation and at the same time relate with all the people and do all these activities?
Okay, so that's a very good 3 questions. Now you have exhausted your quota for today, tomorrow, and the next day also. So the first question is, and the separation of Braj Gopis is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, but not Krishna's separation. Actually, Krishna's separation is also described in Srimad Bhagavatam. But in a more covered way. Krishna describes his love for Braj Gopis as he's describing their glories to Uddhav. When Krishna sends Uddhav to Mathura, at that time he glorifies the love of Braj Gopis. But the implication of his words is that he is feeling separation from them. This is why he's sending Uddhav there. Because in Vrindavan, the Gopis, they can speak to each other and share their feelings with each other. So it's said that a problem shared is a problem halved. At least they can talk to each other and share the burden of their separation. But Krishna has no one to talk to at all. Because the only persons who are in Braj and understand about the love of Braj, who are there in Mathura, there is Balaram, who is in Sakyarasa, and Krishna cannot speak openly to his brother about this, elder brother. And Rohini, who is in Vatsalya Rasa, so he cannot speak to her either. So Krishna is isolated, he has no one to share the burden of his separation. And this is why he sends Uddhav to Vrindavan, to become like a student in the University of Prem of the Gopis, so that when he comes back, then Krishna will have someone to speak to. Because if he'll directly, openly speak to Uddhav now, if he has no experience, he will not understand anything. So the implication of Krishna's separation is there in the dhvani, in the suggestion. Then later, just before Sri Krishna leaves this world, just when he's about to leave this world, when the Yadu dynasty have been destroyed at Prabhas, then Krishna sits beneath the Ashwatthama tree and he gives instructions to Uddhav. So there are more verses where Sri Krishna glorifies the separation of the Braj Gopis and also implies his own separation as well. Even in Gopi Geet, Dina Parikshaye, in that verse, it is said, the Gopis are describing when Krishna is returning to the village. Instead of just going straight into the village and taking the cows to the cow pen and then returning to his home, he's loitering in the road, and on the pretext of going here and there and bringing this cow and that cow and talking to friends, he's actually looking at Braj Gopis who are in their windows, on their balconies, on their roofs, at their doorsteps, like this. And so, if you go deeply into this verse, Dina Prikshare in Gopi Geet, then you'll see in the commentaries it's described that the Gopis themselves are describing Krishna's Purvarag, the separation that he feels before he had the chance to meet with them. Just like in Venugit, the Purva Rag, the shy love of Braj Gopis before they had the chance to meet Krishna is described in Venugit. So in that verse of Gopi Gita, Gopis describe Sri Krishna's Purva Rag also. Right. So for the general persons, we can say, yes, Krishna separation is not described. But for the Rasik Vaishnava, it's described, but in a more covered way. Also, in the meeting of Krishna with Gopis at Kurukshetra as well. So this is the first thing. Then the second question, how can Krishna be in Mathura or Dwarka and feeling separation from Braj Gopis and at the same time be reciprocating with the queens? So, you should know that in the spiritual world, Vrindavan, Mathura and Dwarka, these three dhams all exist simultaneously. And Krishna is Brajendanandan, Mathuresh and Dwarkadish in each one. And the original form of Krishna is in Vrindavan. His Vaibhav Prakash is in Mathura, and his Vaibhav Prakash is also in the Vasudev Krishna in Dwarka. Each Krishna is completely happy in each place, relishing the love of the associates in each place. This is true. But when Sri Krishna comes to this world, he does not stay in each dham simultaneously in a visible form. But rather first he appears in Braja. After almost 11 years, then he goes to Mathura. After some years, about 18 years there, then he moves to Dwarka. So when he's in Dwarka, he's not in Mathura and Braj, in a prakat form, in a manifest form, and vice versa. And then, after returning to Mathura to kill Vidurata and Dantavakra, then Krishna crosses the Jamuna in his chariot and comes to Lohavan and is reunited with the Brijbasis again. So it's said in Lagu Bhagavatamrita of Rupa Goswami Pad that in this world there is Gaman Agaman. That means Krishna goes from Vrindavan and he returns to Vrindavan. Now, as we know, Krishna in Mathura and Dwarka, that's not the Krishna of Vrindavan, that's his Prakash. His expansion, Vaibhav Prakash expansion. Then why did Rupa Goswami say there's Gaman Agaman, coming and going? Because if that's his expansion, then this Krishna is not going anywhere and coming back. Understand? So the secret is, no, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas know that actual Krishna of Vrindavan, he goes to Mathura and he goes to Dwarka. But his moods as a Brajendanandan, Krishna of Braja, they are only meditated upon and remembered and glorified by those who are in the mood of Braja. Understand? And those who are eternal Dwarka Vasis, they never see that. They never see those moods. They only see the moods of his expansion. You see, the expansions of Krishna are not exactly separate from him. They're Krishna in another bhav. So because he reciprocates with everyone, they only experience Mathuresh Krishna, Dwarkadish Krishna, like this. But Vrindavan Krishna is there, and he's feeling separation. So then your third question about, well, how can he be so much crying at night, remembering his cows, remembering the gopis and so on, and also reciprocate lovingly with the residents of Dwarka? And that is because Krishna is not one-dimensional. He is not two-dimensional, or three-dimensional, or four-dimensional. Krishna is infinite-dimensional. In fact, Krishna can have one dimension for every single devotee. Right? Just like when Krishna sits and he's taking the bhojan, eating with the cowherd boys. there are thousands of cowboys sitting in circles around him. But every boy thinks I'm in front of Krishna and eating and he's talking with me. So there's a particular aspect of Krishna, and not only Krishna but all the other associates and the whole Dham, in fact the entire reality, just for each devotee. Understand? We have some mature ideas about subjective world and objective world here in the mature, and that we individual subjects all share the same one objective world. But the Krishna and the spiritual, they're not like that. So Krishna can be experienced in a subjective way by each individual in a completely different way. But they don't only experience Krishna, but all of his associates and the entire Leela also in a different way. So this is quite amazing, because the eternal associates in Dwarka, they feel, oh, Krishna is very happy with us. But the manifestation of those associates in Dwarka, seen from the eyes of the residents of Vrindavan, then they can say, oh, Rukmini is saying that, oh, Krishna, he cannot sleep at night, or even when he sleeps, he calls his cows. Rukmini can say this. But from whom? Not from the vision of the residents of Dwarka. That's how the residents of Vrindavan see the residents of Dwarka. Understand? Then Satyabhama will say, why are you saying this, Rukmini? Tell the truth, tell the truth. He does not only say the names of his cows, but he says the names of the Gopis also. Tell the truth. That he looks at us, and as if we're not even there, as if we're just like shadows. Because he's only thinking of his sweethearts, the Gopis of Vrindavan. So Rukmini spoke about Krishna in a mild way, but Satyabhama is more feisty. And she said, no, you should say this truth, like this. So Srila Sanatana Goswami has described these scenes which took place in Dwarka in his Brihad Bhagavatamrita. But you have to understand, that's the vision of Dwarka from the point of view of Sanatana Goswami, who's Labanga Manjari. But the residents of who are eternal associates of Dwarka, they'll never see like this, because everything is wonderful here. Because each person feels perfect and complete in his own mood. So those are your 3 questions. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.